From around the world and from CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather. And tonight, a special report, Walter Cronkite's Polish Journal.
Good evening. President Reagan tonight is walking a new tightrope in his relations and those of this country with Israel. It has to do with an 8-point Middle East negotiating plan proposed last August by Saudi Arabia. That plan was dismissed at the time by the Reagan administration as, quote, nothing new. But suddenly, over the past few days, in the wake of Mr. Reagan winning approval of a big new arms package for Saudi Arabia, his administration has started saying the plan has positive elements. This made an already jittery Israeli government even more jittery. So today, the Reagan administration took what appeared to be pains to endorse the Camp David agreements between Israel and Egypt. Nonetheless, there remains nagging suspicion that the White House may be thinking about broadening its peace approach. We have Washington reports from Bob Simon and Bill Plant.
Prior to that time, in
a series of briefings today, the administration insisted it remains totally committed to Camp David, but Defense Secretary Weinberger pointed out that Saudi Prince Fahad's 8-point plan is receiving very careful consideration.
We think that there's some hopeful things about the Saudi peace plan that indicate, at the very least, that it is possible for countries that have long been enemies to sit down and begin a peace process.
State Department officials are studying the plan not as a blueprint for a Mideast settlement, but as an approach, as a way of eventually widening the peace process to include not only Saudi Arabia, but the Palestinians and some of the so-called rejectionist states as well. They say that even if most parts of the plan are unacceptable to Jerusalem and to Washington, Fahad's implicit recognition of Israel is a delicate plant which must be nurtured. The administration's recent appreciation of this, said one official, is a case of massive ignorance yielding to the facts of life. And those facts, in the State Department's view, point to the conclusion that should the Camp David process succeed or should it fail, something will have to come next. And that something will have to include Saudi Arabia. Bob Simon, CBS News, the State Department.
At the White House, administration officials were in a somewhat uncomfortable position. They bent over backward today to deny that what the President and the Secretary of Defense said about the Saudi peace plan represented any change in U.S. policy. Into the midst of this came Jordan's King Hussein on a state visit. Hussein, who is regarded as a moderate, has rejected the Camp David Accords. The U.S. would like to draw Hussein into the peace process and also to dissuade him from purchasing Soviet air defenses.
No one should doubt that the preservation of Jordan's security, integrity, and its unique and enduring character remains a matter of highest importance.
Hussein left no doubt that the matter of highest importance to him was a solution to the Palestinian problem.
I see in jeopardy not only Arab rights and legitimate interests, but a threat to the very Arab identity and the rights of future Arab generations.
A senior official said the two men did not talk about the Saudi peace plan. Officials here admit that Mr. Reagan's apparently off-the-cuff words of encouragement to the Saudis are causing problems. But they stoutly maintain that what he said is not inconsistent with U.S. support for the Camp David peace process. Bill Plant, CBS News, the White House.
Active interest in the Saudi plan was expressed today by British Foreign Secretary Lord Carrington, who goes to Riyadh tomorrow to revive a European proposal for a Mideast peace. PLO leader Arafat also will be in the Saudi capital tomorrow, something Carrington insisted was strictly a coincidence. This sudden new flirtation with the old Saudi plan has put Israel on the defensive. Prime Minister Begin, looking for a defense against the proposal, took the offensive today, calling on his political opponents to join him in fighting the plan. Bob Fall reports from Jerusalem.
Begin was Begin. Direct, blunt, uncompromising, rejecting the Saudi plan, in his words, from start to finish. Divide Jerusalem? Never. Jerusalem, he said, is indivisible forever under Israeli sovereignty for all generations to come. Vacate Jewish settlements built in occupied territories? No. They are, he said, our irrevocable right. Give back land captured in the 1967 war? Again, no. Begin said doing so would put Israel in firing range of the enemy. A Palestinian state? No. Its consequence, said the Prime Minister, would not be peace but continual bloodshed. And he also rejected the Saudi proposal that all states in the area live in peace, pointing out that the part of the proposal which does so never once mentions Israel by name. What the Saudis mean, said Begin, is all states except Israel.
The speech couldn't have been tougher. Begin left no loopholes and very little room for negotiation. As part of his counteroffensive, he also proposed sending a team of Israeli legislators to crusade against the Saudi plan in Western Europe and the United States, convinced that if momentum for the plan is not killed, Israel will be even more isolated than the Prime Minister fears it already is. Bob Fall, CBS News, Jerusalem.
Usually maps displayed in the lobby of the State Department don't make news, but this one did today, with its quickly added handwritten name tag identifying Israel. When the map first appeared, all the Middle East countries except Israel were named. There was no immediate explanation for the apparent oversight. The State Department formally confirmed today that, yes, there are Americans working for Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi, helping to maintain his air force, and it called their actions, quote, reprehensible. News organizations reported this 2 weeks ago. The New York Times said yesterday that the Libyan intervention in Chad might not have been possible without the support of the Americans and other foreigners. The State Department said today that Americans have flown on Libyan flights into Chad, but apparently the State Department says not as pilots.
The only serious solution to indoor air pollution, Ecologizer CA90 air treatment systems. The unique CA90 natural cleansing system is scientifically superior to anything else. It removes tobacco smoke, odors, dust and pollen from the air continuously. Ecologizer CA90 air treatment systems for home, office, and auto. Anything else is less.
I refinished this beautiful piece all by myself, and I can't even change a light bulb.
A pro wanted $300 to refinish this. I did it myself for $15.
Formby's furniture refinisher can make a believer out of you because it works unlike anything you've ever seen. It dissolves old varnish lacquer shellac without stripping, sanding, or scraping. With my furniture refinisher, it's a pleasure to create a treasure.
Homer Formby. No one knows wood as good. Look for special values on Formby's complete refinishing and care kit.
An embarrassed Soviet Union today bowed to 4 non-negotiable Swedish demands for the release of that grounded Soviet submarine. The conditions were that Sweden would question the sub's captain, that a full-scale investigation into the vessel's presence in Swedish waters would be held, that Sweden would salvage the sub, and that Moscow would up the cost. The Soviet captain left the sub today for questioning, and no sooner did that happen than the stranded craft sent a distress signal. Doug Tennell picks up the story from there.
Gale-force winds rocked the Soviet vessel violently from side to side. The ship's batteries were spilling acid, a fire hazard. With some 56 Soviet seamen on board, the sub's second-in-command radioed a mayday. The Swedish Navy considered conditions inside the sub dangerous enough to launch an emergency salvage operation, a mission of mercy. With the wind gusting up to 65 miles an hour, they began refloating the alien vessel. The whole operation took only 15 minutes. They would tow it further inland to more sheltered waters, but they would not let the submarine go free. Not at least until the sub's captain provided a full account of his mission here. A naval tug brought the Russian commander to a Swedish torpedo boat well away from the restricted area in which his ship lies. On board, the interrogation began. 2 Soviet diplomats from the Soviet embassy in Stockholm joined the captain and his navigational officer for questioning. Tonight, the submarine is in safe harbor, and a neutral nation in Scandinavia sleeps somewhat more secure. Doug Tennell, CBS News, Karlskrona, Sweden.
Anything else, Bill?
Got something for hemorrhoid symptoms, Mr. Baxter? Pain, itching?
Sure. Try this.
Preparation H?
Yep. Thousands of doctors recommend Preparation H. It often gives fast temporary relief from occasional pain and itch.
Preparation H actually helps shrink swelling of hemorrhoidal tissues caused by inflammation.
I'll try it.
Back in form, Bill?
Thanks to you and Preparation H.
Doctor recommended Preparation H. Relieves pain and itch. Even helps shrink swelling.
You give a man a couple of days to himself and a Black & Decker workmate, and there's almost nothing he can't do. You can pound on it, saw on it, hammer on it, and sand on it. The sturdy vice jaws do the holding for you. You can clamp on it, paint on it, cut a shape on it, drive a screw on it. There's almost nothing you can't do. When America has a job to do, it reaches for Black & Decker.
2 astronauts arrived in Florida today to make final preparations for Wednesday morning's historic blastoff of the Space Shuttle Columbia, which is scheduled to become the first craft ever to make more than one trip into space. Bruce Hall is at the Kennedy Space Center.
Astronauts Joe Engle and Richard Truly flew their T-38 training jets into nearby Patrick Air Force Base this afternoon. The two said they were eager to begin the space flight that has eluded them for so long. NASA officials say the countdown activities for Columbia's second flight into space are simpler because of lessons learned during the first shuttle preparations.
So far it's been going remarkably smooth. We haven't had any significant problems. We're right on schedule.
Meteorologists at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station say that bad weather should move off the coast before Wednesday morning's launch. The first flight proved the shuttle can fly. This one is supposed to answer the question, how well and how practical is a reusable spacecraft? Bruce Hall, CBS News at the Kennedy Space Center.
A judge in suburban New York today set bail at $250,000 for Yves Rozon, who is charged with supplying a getaway car and van for last month's $1.6 million ambush of an armored car. But as David Culhane reports, bail was reduced for another suspect in that robbery after the court questioned some of the government's evidence.
Once again, security was heavy, as it has been at all the proceedings involving suspects in the October 20 Brinks truck robbery that left 3 persons dead. Today it was a bail hearing for Cynthia Boston, who was arrested last week in Mississippi. She is identified as the Minister of Information for a black separatist group called the Republic of New Africa. Federal prosecutors charge that the day after the robbery attempt, she helped clear out one of the apartments used by the Brinks truck gang near New York City. Police say a building superintendent identified a photograph of her. Her attorneys countered today that she was, in fact, in New Orleans on the day in question, getting her car repaired. And they have the bill and a garage employee who can testify to her presence there.
The case against the client is meaningless. It's the statement of a witness we've never seen and who merely is supposed to have identified a photograph of our client as someone she said she saw.
Prosecutors said they also have a letter to Cynthia Boston from another Brinks truck suspect and Weather Underground member Judith Clark. And federal authorities described the New Republic of Africa as a terrorist organization.
Well, certainly people associated with that organization were associated with the crimes in Nyack, and if that isn't terrorism, I don't know what is.
Federal Magistrate Joel Tyler called some of the government evidence against Cynthia Boston tenuous and reduced bail from $500,000 to $250,000. David Culhane, CBS News, New York.
The 5-day-old hostage situation at Graterford State Prison in Pennsylvania ended suddenly this evening. John Perugia is on the scene.
2, 1. After 5 days of talking with convicted murderer Joseph Bowen and several other inmates, negotiators have now succeeded in securing the safe release of 6 hostages. Instrumental in the release was Philadelphia newspaper columnist Chuck Stone, who spent the day shuttling between the 7 inmates who have been barricaded in a prison kitchen and negotiators. The inmates had made 12 demands, mostly dealing with their treatment once they released their hostages. Prison officials said the demands were reasonable but needed some fine-tuning. That fine-tuning came about this afternoon as once again Stone talked with the inmates, and early this evening, about 5 o'clock, the hostages were released unharmed. John Ferrugia, CBS News at Graterford Prison in Graterford, Pennsylvania.
Know what? For intestinal gas pains and pressure, I found these Gas-X tablets so much better.
Watch. Intestinal gas bubbles are much like bubbles in beer. Add the leading antacid here, Gas-X here, and stir. 1 minute later, antacid shows little change, but Gas-X breaks the gas bubbles. They're almost gone.
For intestinal gas pains and pressure after meals, get medically proven relief. Gas-X.
You won't find them in a Sealy. You won't find them in a Serta. You won't find them in a Stearns & Foster. But you will find them in a Beauty Rest by Simmons. Hundreds of these exclusive Beauty Rest coils. They're wrapped individually so they're free to move separately to give every part of your body the kind of firm, comfortable support you won't find anywhere but here.
There's just no rest like a Beauty Rest by Simmons.
Maureen Reagan, the president's 40-year-old daughter, confirmed that she is running for the Republican Senate nomination in California. There are 7 other announced candidates for next June's primary, including S.I. Hayakawa, the Republican incumbent. Well, the issue of nuclear power has pretty much been out from under the spotlight lately. No special crisis to raise anxiety levels, but tomorrow is Election Day, and in the state of Washington, as Linda Douglas now tells us, anxiety levels on both sides of the issue are running high.
It may be the biggest nuclear mishap since 3 Mile Island, but it has nothing to do with safety. These partially built plants in Washington are the site of an economic disaster, which has many voters around the state saying they're mad and they're not going to take it anymore. Initiative 394, on the ballot tomorrow, was born out of frustration with the Washington Public Power Supply System, ironically known as WHOOPS. This huge nuclear project, once estimated at $4 billion, has now risen to $24 billion, and work on 2 of 5 plants has been stopped. Washington has a huge debt, and electric bills, once cheap here, are now starting to rise and may eventually skyrocket. The initiative would give citizens the right to vote on money spent on large public power projects in the future.
The issue is economics. Every energy source, from conservation to solar to nuclear, has got to make it economically. If you can't prove that it's cost effective, you shouldn't do it.
It will chill the financial community as it pertains to loaning money to our energy projects in the state.
And we say let's just vote yes on Initiative 394.
Most of the campaign has been fought on television and radio, with opponents raising a record $1.3 million, mostly from utilities and power plant construction companies.
What can we do? Vote no on 394, that's what.
Initiative 394 is a local measure molded to fit the peculiarities of Washington utility laws. But many say if it passes, it could have serious consequences for the nuclear industry throughout the country.
Passage of this initiative in Washington state would mean a further tightening of the economic and political clamp on the troubled nuclear power industry in the United States.
Jurgen says Washington's nuclear power plants symbolize financial woes throughout the industry, escalating construction costs, high interest rates, and safety concerns which cause design regulations to change. But utility companies argue 394 is a challenge to all energy resources in the state of Washington. Workers for and against the measure are now finishing up their campaigns. One side warning Washington could face brownouts if 394 passes. The other saying the WHOOPS financial fiasco is reason enough to place the state's energy future in the hands of the voters. Linda Douglas, CBS News, Seattle.
Health officials in Tennessee plan to distribute potassium iodide pills to about 7,000 families who live within 5 miles of the Sequoia nuclear power plant near Chattanooga. The officials say these pills would be taken as an antidote in case radioactive iodine is released during an accident at the plant. Radioactive iodine can cause cancer of the thyroid gland. The Supreme Court said today, in effect, that it's against the law for state prosecutors to arbitrarily check the files of food stamp recipients in search of welfare cheats. The justices upheld an appeals court ruling that prosecutors can check food stamp files only if they suspect a particular recipient of welfare fraud.
Of all the breakfast cereals on the market today, over 100 of them altogether, only a very few are high nutrition cereals. New Buckwheats is one of them. And among the high nutrition cereals, only Buckwheats has a great new touch of honey taste.
Nice touch.
So, for high nutrition and great taste, New Buckwheats, the only high nutrition cereal with a touch of honey taste.
We are going to be late for the show. There's plenty of time.
He's just jittery. The doctor says too much caffeine.
Well, try some Sanka brandy, caffeinated coffee.
I only like real coffee.
Sanka's 100% real coffee. Try it.
That is good.
Well, we got the tickets? 50-yard line. Great, let's go.
Hey, we got time for a cup of Sanka and maybe one for the road.
Sanka decaffeinated coffee. Enjoy it wherever you go.
More than 100,000 workers in a southern Polish district agreed today to end their 2-week wildcat strike. The agreement came after the personal intervention of Solidarity Union leader Lech Walesa, who promised the workers if talks with the government commission fail, the strike will be resumed with Solidarity's backing. The strike was called to protest Poland's economic crisis. Poland, more than ever now, is a country of contrasts. It is a country steeped in the communist state tradition, yet it is a country struggling to find an alternative solution to its critical problems. And nowhere is this contrast more vivid than in its capital, Warsaw, as Walter Cronkite reports.
This is Warsaw, perhaps the most depressing and simultaneously the most exciting city in the world today.
Driving into Warsaw, one is struck by the lack of traffic, more than that of a lazy country village than that of a bustling capital. The reason is quickly apparent. The autos are out of gas, just like Poland's economy. Gas station lines run a mile or more, many parked, awaiting another shipment of fuel to the station, its arrival time uncertain, perhaps days away. The queue is a way of life for Poles these days, and the shopping bag is the badge of want. But for all this, Polish pride is not dead.
Robicie panowie, doprawdy. My jesteśmy już tak obrażani, to, że my tyle stoimy, a jeszcze robicie zdjęcia, żeby nas pokazywać. To krępujące jest.
And that pride provides an answer to one of the contradictions here. The people are well dressed, and to a remarkable degree, normal life goes on. Coffee houses are full and lively, until our cameras seem to dampen some afternoon liaisons. Young people crowd the discos, many non-alcoholic and non-smoking like this one. Children still are taken to the zoo, or for an organized tour of Warsaw's old city, painstakingly restored after its wartime destruction. Life is not impossible here yet, but it is difficult and growing worse. And the mood on the food lines is one of gentle grumbling.
A może te ryby pokazać?
Tak. A wiele pan stał?
Od 5.
Od rana? Tak. O mój Boże, kochany.
Ale za cały chodzi, żeby coś...
There's fear time for gentle grumbling is running out. Poland has to build its economy almost from scratch, untangling first an almost incredible weave of interlocking inefficiency. Take this tractor factory, for instance. It keeps using up materials, manpower, and energy to turn out new machines that end up on a parking lot because they lack one essential piece, a hook. And meanwhile, next door, a magnificent new assembly line with the latest Western equipment, almost ready to go, except the Poles ran out of hard currency, dollars and pounds, to finish it. They ran out of money because, for instance, they couldn't sell tractors to raise it. And the same goes for the parts to keep the trucks running, to bring the coal and food to the city, to produce the goods, to buy the parts, and on, with this spinning centrifuge of destruction. To mine every vein of hard currency, the government set up a consumer's free market. Anybody who by hook, crook, or relatives abroad can come upon good, solid Western money, now can exchange it for tokens at a state bank. The tokens can be spent at state stores with a profusion of Western goods at prices far below the normal domestic market. Here, a bottle of scotch at $5.50, just for instance. And that has led to other officially accepted phenomena like this auto market.
Z tego roczniku wiadomo, że było zmienione wszystko.
Scores of owners bring their cars here for sale. Cars that it would take a 3-year wait and 8 years' wages to buy from the state. Here, tokens can buy a car at almost a tenth of the price in zlotys.
Żyjemy w PRL-u, a nie tam bony, wam się w głowach poprzewracało z tymi bonami.
The people clearly are tired of this mess, and hence the popularity of Solidarity, which seems to promise relief.
Do you see some ways specifically that the West could be helpful right now? Of course, today we are in need of emergency assistance, medicine and food. Now in the short term, we do not need much. We need to get some branches of industry back on their feet. Briefly, as for this emergency assistance in medicine and food, this would seem to be self-explanatory. As for other assistance, we need less than we have already taken from you and from others in the past.
And hence the compromises by an alarmed and sympathetic communist government.
We have recognized the errors of our authority. We want to correct them and are correcting them. And we are going in that direction. And therefore, we have consented and we continue to consent to many developments which would never have been tolerated in any other law-abiding country. But there are bounds, limitations, and these limitations involve the very existence of the state itself.
While there are enough reminders of the Soviet presence across the border, in contrast to the rest of the world, the Poles themselves seem totally unconcerned about the possibility of Soviet intervention. Food and consumer goods, a working economy are the only considerations here. The freedom with which the Poles openly and fearlessly debate the political and economic solutions to their problems is what makes Warsaw so exciting today. Polish intellectuals know, and others seem to sense, that they're living through a revolution of their own today, one that could forever change the concept of a communist society, a revolution that could have as profound implications as that which brought forth another new idea on the American continent 200 years ago. This is Walter Cronkite, CBS News, Warsaw.
CBS News will present a special report by Walter Cronkite, Two Voices of Poland, with exclusive interviews with Prime Minister Jaruzelski and Solidarity leader Wałęsa tonight at 11:30, 10:30 Central Time. That's the CBS Evening News for this Monday. Dan Rather reporting from New York. Good night.
He was the kind of a guy who didn't expect much from today's small cars, just practicality, nothing more. Then he saw the 1982 Oldsmobile Omega and realized he'd been expecting too little. This four-cylinder, front-wheel drive Olds Omega had style. He could imagine the luxury inside, the smooth, quiet ride. Olds Omega, he smiled. Even today, there's still room to do it with style.
People say I have $1 million smile. Well, I should. Sometimes I think I invested that much in it. That's why I chew Freedent. Freedent is the one gum that won't stick to my dental work. And I love that fresh minty taste. Freedent gives me all the chewing pleasure I could ask for in a gum. And where my dental work's concerned, there's nothing tacky about it. With Freedent, the pleasure sticks, but gum won't.
From around the world and from CBS News headquarters in New York, this has been the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather. Tonight, a CBS News special report with Walter Cronkite. Can the Polish Union and Polish government coexist? Two Voices in Poland. Tonight at 11:30 Eastern, 10:30 Central and Mountain on CBS.
Dr. George Nicopolis faced tough questioning today about his relationship with singer Jerry Lee Lewis. We'll have that story next on Eyewitness News.
What you doing? Playing a game. What game? Picture triominoes. Match up the numbers and add your score. I can add. Well, then you can just match the numbers. I can't read numbers. Then just match the pictures. I can do that. Can I play? Sure.
Picture Triominoes, a game where players match pictures, numbers, or play for score. Picture Triominoes from Press